Heather, I am so glad that you're able to make it to the summit today. First, I just want to let everybody know that Heather is the marketing director for Children in Film, which is just an incredible website. And so I wanted to ask you just to let everybody know what exactly is Children in Film all about?
Well, thank you, Aaron, for having me and Children in Film here this afternoon in California, but evening for you guys. Children in Film is a social networking site for child actors and their parents, as well as the industry professionals that employ child actors. So we are basically everything and everyone you need to know when it comes to breaking in this industry if you're a parent.
And I'm kind of curious, maybe you can tell us what kind of jobs are available to kids. I mean, you hear about, a couple of kids who've, have had major roles, but there are tons and tons and tons of kids who are working in the industry, but they might not have the name recognition. So maybe you can share with us, like what kinds of jobs are kids getting?
Sure, absolutely, and that's sort of a common false piece of information about this industry as far as when people think that, oh, that was their breakout role, that was the first time and they got discovered. I don't really love the word discovered because most children or minors in entertainment, anyone from actually 15 days old to 18 years old, are working on a lot of what we would say are smaller roles until they have their big breakout roles. So as far as the answer to your question, anything from extra work, I heard your last caller talking about that a little bit as well as you, and all the way up through to major motion pictures. So there's a lot of print work available to child actors. A lot of kids under the age of 5 or 6 do get started with print work, and then a lot of times commercials. And then, of course, there's television, and there's film, student films, pretty much anything that an adult actor would work on is indeed available to child actors.
Now, how exactly would it work? If the child is in school and there's an audition taking place, I'm just kind of assuming, and maybe you can let us know, that typically they will try to have auditions after school, or do they take place during school?
It is correct that they typically are going to have auditions after school. They should have auditions after school. And I should preface all of this information with the fact that Children in Film is a nationwide site. We do service all 50 states, but child actor employment is regulated on a state-by-state basis. So a lot of what I would probably talk about here this evening has to do with California law, but New York has very restrictive laws as well, and then on our website you can actually find the rules and laws for every state so that you could determine what actually goes on in your state. As far as California is concerned, casting directors are not supposed to have auditions before school is out. That said, do they do it? Sometimes. And I don't know if your question is also involving school on set and all those sorts of things. It can be a pretty complicated question, but I could get into it if you want to know some of those details.
Yeah, actually, that would be interesting because a lot of people have asked me, if the child is, let's say, not homeschooled and is just going to a regular school and all of a sudden they book a job and it's going to be a number of days, what happens with their education?
Sure, okay. Let's see here. Well, first of all, there's really, in the state of California, there's no difference between homeschool and regular school. So you couldn't come to a production and say, oh, well, we're homeschooled, so what you're telling us about the schooling of this child doesn't matter. No, that's not the case. It depends on the age of the child. For example, if the child is 6 years old to 8 years old, then the maximum amount of time that they can be at work is 4 hours, and they need 3 hours of education, an hour of rest and recreation, and then a half an hour meal period. So it all depends on the child's age. And in addition to that, they are required to have a studio teacher welfare worker on set. Now, this studio teacher is certified and prepared not only to assist the child with their education, but also is there to protect the child. So when a parent says, oh, well, they're homeschooled, so I'll be their teacher on set, that doesn't work because we are, in some ways, protecting kids from their own parents. And, not incredible harm, have you, but making sure that things are done correctly, whether it has to do with the fact that they need to have schooling or all the way down to what type of water and the temperature of the water are they going to be jumping into for this commercial, and who is looking out for their well-being. So that's
And
why the
that
studio teacher welfare worker is there.
and that person also is pretty much the liaison between production and the child. So that person would walk over
Yes.
to a producer or first assistant director or somebody on the set to say, hey, by the way, I just want to let you know that this kid can only work for another 30 minutes and that's it for the day. So that's part of their responsibility along with education, correct?
That is absolutely correct, and it's a tough role to have because, as you know from being on set yourself, producers have goals. They have time limits they have to meet. They're on extreme budgets, and sometimes the education is not the first thing that they're thinking about. And unfortunately, a lot of parents are so eager to have their kids be in this industry that they try to make sacrifices and they try to be the good guy too. Oh, the director wants us another 30 minutes. Well, we could do that. And so the studio teacher is there to draw the line so that everything is taken care of as it's supposed to be.
Yeah, and I guess, sometimes it gets tricky when you do have a parent there because I mean you sometimes you do hear of the horror stories of, a stage mom and people, just doing things that aren't necessarily in the child's best interest. And fortunately, especially with the union, they, created laws and bylaws that really help protect children, like they have the Coogan law.
Mm-hmm.
Um, where essentially if a parent, if I, and actually please jump in if I'm not getting this exactly correctly, but essentially it protects the child's money because is it 10% or 20% that has to
Oh,
go into
the
escrow?
Coogan account. Yes, I believe it's 15% of the child's gross earnings goes into what is called a Coogan account, or in many states, a block trust account. And it is there until the child turns 18. And it was developed here in California because of Jackie Coogan, who, as you may know, is a child actor that lost most of his earnings because his mother and stepfather spent it. So yeah, there are laws in place to unfortunately protect kids not only from the producers and the production, but also from their own parents. Now that said, at Children in Film, we really are about the positive employment of minors in the entertainment business. For every one story you hear about a stage mom or a negative situation, there are hundreds of great stories out there. So I don't really want to scare the parents in the audience here into thinking that this is the norm. A lot of parents are really, really, really able to successfully navigate this industry. It's about doing your research up front and really knowing what you're getting into on all angles so that you can do it the right way.
Now, would you happen to know if a child is cast, well, let's say in a film, and they are shooting out of town? I'm assuming a parent is required to travel with the
Yes.
child
Yes.
or some
Parents
kind
are
of
required.
guardian.
Yes, and that guardianship can be a little complicated, but for our purposes, yes. If the child is under 15, they absolutely must have a parent or guardian in sight or sound at all times. Now, things change slightly when the child is 16 and 17, and that also changes things with the studio teacher. For example, on the weekend, if a 16-year-old or 17-year-old is working, the studio teacher doesn't need to actually be there, because in that case they would just be responsible for the child's education. So as you can see, there's all these little gray areas. There's these exceptions to the rule. There aren't exceptions in terms of permits or Coogan accounts, though, I can tell you that much, and in terms of education, but it changes based on the age of the child, on the state in which the child lives, on the state in which the production is based. And that's why what we've done at Children in Film is taken all of this insanity and legal jargon and what I call boring stuff and boiled it down into literally one page per state so that the parents can go on and read this information and inform themselves, so that if things seem a little off, they can bring it up to the studio teacher on set, or I a lot of times suggest the AD as a person to go to if things are off.
And just so everybody knows, the AD is the assistant director, and this is the
Yes.
person who works right under the director of the project. Now, do parents get compensated in any way when they are traveling with their child?
No, not that I'm aware of. And I should also add that that's another misconception about this industry. People come to us all the time and they say, well, if we could just get in front of an agent or manager, or if I know, Heather, that you know a bunch of casting directors, if we could just get in front of the casting director, I hear all the time that my child should be in TV. Well, we hear that phrase all the time too, and the thing is that I think a lot of parents think that as soon as that moment happens that things will be taken care of, things will be paid for, tickets will be purchased, and gone are the days when someone's just discovered at the playground and then all of a sudden cast in this major film and paid for everything, and all the hotels and plane flights are taken care of. It just doesn't happen like that anymore. A lot of money is going to be spent up front from the parent before anything major happens as far as a career in this industry. And that's why we just want you to know the right ways to go about things and where to spend your money, and who to trust your money with, and your child with, for that matter.
And that's why it's so important to have a company like Children in Film, which is it's just an incredible resource for parents, so that you know you can go to a place, get the right information, ask the questions, if you need more clarification, and also have them be able to send you to the right people if there are more questions that need to be answered. I know that you were offering some kind of special discount if somebody becomes a member of Children in Film. Maybe you could explain that?
Absolutely, and thank you so much for saying that about us. I mean, we are surprisingly a small company. I mean, it's myself and the president, Tony Casala, who's been doing this for about 25 years now, working with all sorts of child actor families. And we really are extremely passionate about what we do. And I don't know if I can do it over the line here, Aaron, but I have been known to give my cell phone number out. And the reason I do that is because if you have a parent, if a parent has a question, call me, call us, call our office. We are here to help. Yes, there are two types of membership on our site. There's a free membership. It's called Free Basic, absolutely free all the time. I call this a fly on the wall membership. Use it to get all of that information, all the knowledge, suck it up, read all of the articles. Aaron, I know that you've even contributed articles. So
Absolutely.
we're getting information from people that know what they're talking about. And the other membership is called an enhanced membership. It's normally $16.99 a month. And what that is the interactive feature that allows you to attend all of our events. We have virtual ones kind of like this, and live ones as well. It allows you to access all of our industry pros. So if you want to send a message to an agent at CESD, or if you want to submit to a casting director, you have access to all of that through our safe and secure site with the enhanced membership. Now, to answer your question, if anyone mentions this event or your name, Aaron Marcus, they can have a free month on the site. So what they would do is they would join as a basic, and then they'd upgrade to enhanced. And then they could just call us or send us an email to contact@childreninfilm.com and let us know that they listened in on this, and we will make sure that their card is not charged.
That is
So
wonderful. And all of
please take advantage.
all of your contact information is all the websites and your email and Twitter and Facebook, all that is on the monitor, and everybody's seeing it right now.
Oh, okay.
So Heather, I just wanted to thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming on to the summit and being a part of it, and for all the work that you do for all the parents and children who are trying to work and are working in the industry. And I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much, and we really appreciate you too, Aaron. You've got a lot of good stuff that you're offering, and I hope that people are reading your things just as much as they're reading ours.
Great. Well, thank you so much. Thanks, Heather.
You're welcome. Have a great one.